My Dandavat pranams to everybody. Hari Bol, Hari Bol. So today is Thursday, the 1st of August, 2024. It's also the Tirabhav of Bhakti Kamal Govinda Goswami Maharaj. So we'll say a few words about him. Afterwards, we'll have a kirtan first. Okay, so, and Tirtha Maharaj also, is it? Really? Okay. And Bhaktivedanta Tirtha Maharaj, his Tirabhav as well. So many. Okay, so we'll sing the same bhajan that we sang yesterday in honor of Sri Radha Kund. But today we've got no rainstorm, so a little bit quieter. Radha Kunda Tata Kunja Kutira Govardhana Parvata Jamuna Tira Radha Kunda Tata Kunja Kutira Govardhana Parvata Yamuna Tira Radha Kunda Tata Kunja Kutira Govardhana Parvata Yamuna Tira Radha Kunda Tata Kunja Kutira Kusuma Savara Manasa Ganga Kusum Sarovara Manasa Ganga Kalindana Vipula Taranga Kalindana Vamsi Gata Gokula Gira Samira Vamsi Gokula Gira Samira Vrindavana Charu Latika Banira Vrindavana Charu Latika Banira Kagamiga Kula Malaya Vatrasa Kagamiga Kula Mayura Brahmara Murali Vilasa Mayura Brahmara Murali Vilasa Venu Shringapada Chinna Megamala Venu Vashanta Shashanka Shanka Karatala Vashanta Shashanka Shanka Yugala Vilase Anukula Jani Yugala Vilase Anukula Jani Gala vilase anukula jani vilase anukula jani lila vilasa udipakamani lila vilasa udipakana sabachorata kahi nahi jao sabachorata kahi nahi jao sabachorata paranaharao paranaharao sabachorata paranaharao Vakati vinoda kahe sunakana Vakati vinoda kahe sunakana Tu audi baka hamara parahana Tu audi baka hamara parahana Tu audi baka hamara parahana Tu audi baka hamara Radha kunda tata kunja kutira Govardhana parvata yamuna tira Radha kunda tata kunja kutira Jaya Radha Kunda, Jaya Shyama Kunda, Radha Kunda, Jaya Shyama Kunda. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Yamuna Devi, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Yamuna Devi. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai. Jaya Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari. Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Oh Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Shri Shri Guru Garanga Ganhavga Giridhari Radha Govinda Ji Ki Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Satchinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Shishimat Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Shishimat Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Baladevi Dibhushan Gaudi Vedanta Rajacharya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai. Jai Sri Rup Sanatan Shri Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai. Arupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parasada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sigaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Govardhan Dwadasa Vardmatmika Shri Brajamandal Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Brinda Devi Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Shrimati Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Shrimati Yogamaya Purnamasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai. Ketra Mandal Ki Jai. Sarva Vignavan Asakari Shina Shingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai. Bhakta Pravar Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Chari Dham Ki Jai. Chari Sampradaya Ki Jai. Chari Acharya Ki Jai. Akara Mataraj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai. Shri Keshavji Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai. Shri Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Kota Vaishnava Brinda Ki Jai. Samagata Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai. Gaud Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Agina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Taralaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Shrapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Shvapadantikam Priya Surupe, Daita Surupe, Prema Surupe, Sahajva Rupe Nijana Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swadala Surupe Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavartino Kalo Samarpaitam Unnata Ujjvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundara Tutikatamba Sadipita Sada Hridare Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandanaha Yam Pravajantam Anapaityam Apaitikrityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Taravo Binidustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktiya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shittascha Karmadi Tarangavadya Kripamai Tvam Sharanam Prapana Prinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Bharatram Tato Mamanasti Katyena Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandava pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila, Pravishta Om, Astotar Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto lotus feet of our most beloved Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Astautar Sarashishimat Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again to our dearmost Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namane Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. And all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Varga and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. So today is the Tirabhav of Srila Bhaktivedanta Tirtha Maharaj. So I didn't realize this just until a few minutes ago. So our association and time with Srila Bhaktivedanta Tirtha Maharaj spans more than 20 years. And we saw his inexhaustible energy, especially in facilitating and arranging all the Gaura Dham Parikrama and the Vrindavan Parikramas. And he was like a ball of fire. He just never stopped from morning till night. And he would speak. Actually, he was our most eloquent speaker. On the Bhagavatam, he had absorbed my Gurudev's teachings since a very early age, about 10 or 12 years old, when he first came to the mutt. And he never considered himself particularly educated. So when he had an opportunity to learn verses and to speak the Tattva Siddhanta, he approached it with great enthusiasm. So he could actually speak practically better than any of the other sannyasis with my Gurudev. And not only speak, but then act on all those topics that he spoke about. I can remember one time when he was giving Harikatha in Mathura temple, and when he'd finished, and practically even before the Jai Davani prayers had finished, he was out in the kitchen, and then he went into the toilets and was cleaning the toilet. So he would be cooking, he would be doing everything. So this is the sort of person who, that cup is completely fine. That cup is fine. So he would, I think anyone in our Sangha who knows of Tirtha Maharaj can speak endlessly on his glories. So somehow or other, after the departure of my Gurudev, he carried on his preaching, that he became very sick with various bodily disturbances, and he wouldn't attend to it carefully, sufficiently. And the result was, when he was on Bengal Prachar one day, he had a massive heart attack, and there was no doctor available. So he left this world in that way. But he performed endless, just like Krishnadas, these two devotees, Krishnadas and Tirtha Maharaj, they supported my Gurudev's mission extraordinarily well. Both of them traveled with my Gurudev overseas and supported the devotees and my Gurudev's mission. So today we're remembering very fondly Bhaktivedanta Tirtha Maharaj. And also we're remembering very fondly Srila Bhakti Kamal Govinda Maharaj. He was a disciple of Srila Vaibhav Puri Maharaj, but he took Shiksha from Bhakti Jivan Janardhan Goswami Maharaj. And this is where he got the essence of this Bhakti Ras, was from Bhakti Jiva Janardhan Maharaj. Bhakti Jiva Janardhan Maharaj would always speak on Rasik topics, and he basically got his inspiration from for those topics from Srila Bhakti Jiva Janardhan Goswami. Because, as I've said previously, these topics, we need to have that personality who's realized in these topics to give us the confident faith in the reality of these topics. If we don't have that person who's in that world, we won't quite believe these words that we read about Braja Prem, etc. We'll hold doubts about it. Whereas if we've had the fortune to be in contact with a Rasik Vaishnava who is Tattvavit and has realized these topics, then we also have great faith in these topics. And with that faith, the enthusiasm will come to appreciate these topics. So Bhakti Kamal Govinda Maharaj was of that nature, and he got that faith from Bhakti Jiva Janardhan Maharaj. And he would speak on Venugita and very beautiful topics in Vrindavan. He left this world at quite an early age, actually. He must have been about maybe 55, 60, probably less than that even. But he just began traveling in the world. I think he did one world tour. Then he came back to Vrindavan, and he was in the process of getting an ashram together, but there was no sevak who understood his sicknesses and debilities. He had diabetes and so on. Anyway, he left this world prematurely, we can say. He was just gathering followers, and then he left this world. So today we're remembering very fondly Bhakti Kamal Govinda Maharaj, a disciple of Srila Vaibhav Puri Maharaj. So these great Vaishnavas, they come into this world for a little while, and then they benedict us with their gifts, and then they depart again. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he said, he reasons ill who tells that Vaishnavas die when thou art living still in sound. So that sound is the glorification of those Vaishnavas on their disappearance and their appearance days. And due to the mercy of Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj, we always make an effort to chant the glories of those personalities on their Tirubhav and Abhibhav days. So Srila Kamal Govinda Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Srila Bhaktivedanta Tirtha Maharaj ki jai. Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. So now we're coming to our subject of the Falshruti first. We're on the first 5 verses. So in order to get the mercy of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we chant these verses. This is why we chant these verses, really and truly. If the mercy of Bhaktivinoda Thakur is not coming, how can we enter or hear these topics clearly? So, Pritibhite yata kata dharma name chale, bhagavata kahi sabai paripurna chale. As indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2, all the philosophies on earth that are celebrated as dharma are utterly deceptive. This dharma, artha, karma, moksha, this makes up the general population follow this path, because this is what Vedavyas was teaching mostly, this Gyan Kand, before he meets Narad in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that description in the 5th chapter of the 1st canto. And then Narad, he benedicts him with a vision of Vrindavan. And when he sees Brajendranandan Sham Sundar, then he begins to describe this bhakti path. But prior to that, and for most of the ages before that, the principal precepts that the rishis and sages were following were the path of moksha. They wanted to be liberated from this material world, or at best enter Vaikuntha. But this path of Raganuga Bhakti was completely not available. It was there, but very, very minimal. It was only personalities like Jaidev, like Chandidas, like Vijaspati, yes, and Bilvamangal Thakur also. These personalities, they had some, but they did not really appreciate what is Parakiya Ras. This ingredient was given directly by Mahaprabhu. Jaidev Goswami, he couldn't even write that Smaragarala Kandanam, Mama Sirasi Mandanam, Dehi Padapalavam Udaram. He couldn't write that. Krishna had to come and write it himself, this verse, about Krishna placing his head and peacock feather and flute at the lotus feet of Sri Radhika. This was too much for Jaidev. Jaidev was a great, great mystic saint who wrote so many beautiful prayers, and his Gita Govinda, Dhanishta Sakhi, she sings so beautifully, this Gita Govinda, these heart-rendering prayers of separation and meeting. But nevertheless, the teaching of, or the understanding of Parakya Ras, this is not clarified there by Jaidev Goswami also. So this was the gift of Mahaprabhu. So, but what we're saying here is that this cheating religion, dharma projita kaitavatra parama nirmat saranam shatam. This is the verse that he's quoting. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving us this introduction based on the praman of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Everything has its praman there. So the Bhagavatam is the praman for all of his falshruti. Chala dharma chadikara satya dharamimati chatuvaragatyaji dara nitya premagati. One should completely abandon such deceptive dharmas and absorb his mind in true dharma. In other words, one should give up the fourfold goals of material life, dharma, artha, karma, moksha, and aspire solely for the ultimate destination of nitya prem. This is the only thing we have to know. What is that nitya prem? This is why we're reading Jaiva Dharma, to understand the nature of nitya prem. It's not we don't have any material ambition whatsoever for this naimitic realm. And a material ambition is also liberation from this material world, this moksha. This is a material ambition also, to be liberated from the material world. But what will you do once you're liberated from the material world? Just try to enjoy something, be happy in the Brahman, in the Nirvishesh Brahm conception? Is that our goal? Nitya Prem is the goal. Amitva mimamsa brahme nija chade buddhi nirvishesha brahm jnana hechira shuddhi. Those who are deluded identify themselves with matter. That is their error. However, one cannot be purified of such delusion by endeavors for nirvishesh brahm jnana. Even in the stage of nirvishesh brahm jnana, there is still illusion in that place, because we are thinking that I am the center. In that Brahman conception, there is no sambandha with the Lord. There's no relationship. It's just completely impersonal. And you're happy sitting Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, na sochati na kanchati. There's no lamentation, there's no desires. So that's a state of happiness in one sense. But it's a neutral zone, Shantaras. That's the place of the Brahman. It's defined as a place of Shantaras. We have our origin in that Shantaras. That's where we are coming from. We're coming from the Brahman. And then when we had a choice to either be attracted to Krishna's kirtan or to be attracted to this material world, we all chose the glitter of the Mayic illusion. And then we came into the body of Karanadakshay Vishnu, then we come into this world, looking hungrily to enjoy matter. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, those who are deluded identify themselves with matter. So this is our delusion, this identification with matter. Ivi chitrata hina hale nirvishesha hoy kala samatolya seha aprakritanoy. The Mayavadi thinks Sri Krishna to be subject to the limitations of time, such as birth and death, considers that he is not transcendental. The Mayavadi doesn't understand beyond this material realm, so he can't understand the nature of eternality. The devotee, even though he's in this material world, can understand this because he has complete faith in the Supreme Lord and his pastimes. It's that faith, that shraddha, which will connect us fully with that supreme dimension, that kingdom of the spiritual realm. But then also we must be educated into the natures of the different spiritual realms. This is what my Gurudev spoke on so extensively. Are we wanting to go to Vaikuntha? Vaikuntha is a place of practically liberation. Salokya, Samipya, Sarupya, Sharsti. These 4 liberations are there in Vaikuntha. So again, the limitation of the relationship with Krishna is shrunken. It's not complete. And prior to Mahaprabhu, this was the destination or the desire of so many rishis and sadhus, was Vaikuntha. Considers that he is thus he rejects Sri Bhagavan's Vichitrata, astonishing characteristics, paraphernalia, qualities, and lila. Through this vicious attempt, he is left with the philosophy of Nirvishesh Brahm. So that's all you're left with. You don't have the beauty of Krishna's varied qualities and pastimes, that chamatkara, that astonishing pastimes of Krishna are vacant in that place of the Nirvishesh Brahm. It's a very boring place ultimately for the devotees. Kanda Gyane Haya Dharma Arche Sunishchaya Prakriti Haya Kavuna Prakriti Naya. Such base and contemptible gyan, which arises out of an attempt to dismember the divine form of Bhagavan, is only fit to be rejected. It is prakrita, materialistic, and should never be given credence as aprakadam. The lack of pure education is so much missing in the world, even amongst devotee groups. If they're not educated sufficiently, then they will seek that pleasure of moksha or liberation or the Nirvishesh Brahm. They will seek that pleasure. So we need to be thoroughly educated, and this Jaiva Dharma is certainly doing that on all levels, in all areas, in all topics. This Jaiva Dharma carries us through. So now we come to our topic. Yesterday it was a huge, wonderful, rainy storm here. As I was speaking, the wind was blowing, the rain was coming in, the curtains were all flying around. It was crashing like anything all around us. It was a huge inundation of rain, and it was ecstatic in one sense, but speaking these very profound truths through all that distracting circumstances. I think I lost a lot. I wasn't personally able to focus entirely on the subject matter as we were reading it. Something was there. So I don't think it will be at all to our disadvantage just to read again basically what we read yesterday. Not quite the whole thing, but most of it. So, because 2 important questions are here that Vijay, who is it? Vijay Kumar is asking. 2 important questions. He's asking, ultimately, about the condition of lust. And when we view the topics of Vrindavan Leela or Braj Ras, we will be obstructed in entering into that realm by this material disease, this hridrogam, disease of the heart. So this is the first question that Bhajanath asks, or Vijay asks. And then the second question is about the philosophers or the analytical devotees viewing these pastimes and thinking that, oh, if there is envy in the spiritual world, then what's the problem with the enviousness of this world? What's the distinction? So the logicians and the analytical souls, they can't understand this. So this is what Babaji is addressing. So let me just read from page 708, and we'll read again what we read yesterday. And I'm sure the second time through, or maybe the third or fourth time for some of us, it's going to be much more understandable and appreciated. So Vijay is saying, Goswami is saying, in answer to the question about those who are viewing the pastimes that apparently have so much material aspects in them, and they're seeing them from that point. So now Goswami is going to clarify. This is on page 708 at the bottom, when Goswami is saying, Vijay, what an unprecedented ras this Braja Leela is. It appears to be the same principle as the mundane Shringara ras. That means the dealings between young boys and young girls in this world. But actually it is completely the opposite, because there's no attachments there for our self-pleasure. It's all completely selfless. This is the nature of the spiritual amour, or the spiritual Vrindavan pastimes. There's not a drop of selfishness there, because both are just concerned with the happiness of the others. There's the Ashraya and the Vishaya. This is what's going to be explained. It appears to be the same principle as the mundane Shringara rasa of this world, but actually it is completely the opposite. It has been stated in the Rasa Panchadeya, Srimad Bhagavatam 10:33-49, that the heart disease of those who study this Leela is vanquished. This Vikriditam Brajavadubi Icham Cha Vishnu Shradanbitu Nushram Yad Artha Varanyam Yad Bhaktim Param Bhagavati Prati Labhya. This bhakti will arise in the heart by hearing these topics. It's an amazing, there's a story of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and in the early days of the temple in America, one temple in America, Boston, there was 40 brahmacharis living in like a very, very large house, 40. And there was 3 brahmacharinis, ladies. So the spring season came, and the testonis were moving, the hormones in both men and women, and the men were becoming agitated and disturbed, and the women were feeling very much unsure of this situation. They're all practicing chanting Hare Krishna, etc. So they wrote to Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and they said, explain the situation. What shall we do? Prabhupada immediately wrote back and said, you get the Krishna book, the 10th canto, and you read the Gopi Geet. You call everyone in to your temple room and you read Gopi Geet. Gopi Geet has the power to purify the lust, this Hrid Rogam of the heart. Hearing these topics will purify the lust of the heart. And Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada had so much faith in that. So much faith that he told all the devotees to do like that. And because he had faith in that so strongly, the devotees, they did like that, and they cleared that whole problem. They had no more problem. They all just became far more respectful to each other. There was none of the familiarity was there. So this was due to the mercy of the Gopi Geet, of listening to that pastime. So this is a very powerful example of how this is a reality. When we hear these topics, it'll purify the dirt and contamination of the heart. So that is the antidote, that is the medicine for purification. So this is what he's saying, that the heart disease of those who study this Leela is vanquished. If we study this Leela, it's vanquished. What is the heart disease of the conditioned soul? Material lust. This lust naturally arises in those who identify themselves with male or female body. We identify ourselves as a male or female in relationship to each other on that platform. That platform is the mundane world. We should understand what is the material world and what is the spiritual world. Yes, I'm not advanced enough to see myself as off that platform, but at the same time, I'm understanding that to appreciate that is going to be the key into rising above this material disease of lust. Composed of 7 dhatus such as flesh and blood. Yes, flesh and blood are the material components, which are temporary, and who take shelter of the subtle body by accepting an identity consisting of desires pertaining to the mind, intelligence, and false ego. The subtle body produces the desires, the gross body acts on those desires. The subtle body is mind, intelligence, and false ego. That is the subtle body. And it's been, the gross body is being prompted by the mind, which is the subtle body. So, if we take shelter of the mind, then we cannot rise above this level. We only have the mind, Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes, as the instrument to reach transcendence. So the mind must be purified. What's the first instruction that Rupa Goswami gives us? Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udara Prasa Vegam. This is the first instruction he gives us in Upadeshamrita. How can you enter these topics when still the mind is uncontrolled and wavering and hovering on this material platform? It's not going to be possible. But if we take shelter of these topics, then the mind will become controlled. That is the point. That is about the story that I just told you about Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. If we take shelter of these topics, the mind will become controlled. Nothing has the power to remove this lust easily. Arjuna, he says in the end of the 3rd chapter, Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Raja Guna Samutkara, in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, this all-devouring enemy of lust. So Goswami is bringing this point in now. If that is not being attempted to be controlled, then how can we enter these topics and see them clearly? We must become very, very serious and sober in our practice. There is no other way. There is no other way, there is no other way. Nothing has the power to remove this lust easily. It can only be dispelled by the continuous cultivation of endeavors and moods in pursuit of Braj Leela. Endeavors and moods in pursuit of Braj Leela. That means meditating on the beautiful sweet pastimes of Brajendrananda and Shyam Sundar. And this is what this Bhakti Ras is all indicating us to go towards. In this Siddhanta, you will see the miraculous feature of the Sringara Ras of Vrindavan Leela. You will also realize that although Nirvishesh Brahm is characterized by self-satisfaction, Atmaram, this uppercut Sringara Ras considers it quite insignificant and throws it very far away. Yes, we leave that world of desire for moksha, reigning splendidly for all time. Moreover, the Sringara Ras reigns splendidly for all time. Moreover, the Sringara Ras externally exists with a brilliance that fully and perfectly diminishes the value of the opulence of the transcendental Vaikuntha world in the spiritual sky. So we've said that example before. Like if you have a glass of water and you put a spoonful of salt, the water represents Madhurya Ras. So the salt is that right? Yeah. No, the salt is Aishwarya, and the water represents Madhurya. So if you have a glass of water and you put 1 spoonful of salt in and mix it, it's very salty. This is like the degree of the Aishwarya in Vaikuntha. There's not so much Madhurya. There's no Madhurya, basically. It's all Aishwarya. Aishwarya Bhav in Vaikuntha. But if you take a huge quantity of salt and you throw it into the Ganga, the salt is Aishwarya, then that Aishwarya is going to mix with the Madhurya and be completely covered. There's going to be no taste of Aishwarya externally manifesting, although it's much deeper inside. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives us a beautiful example of this. Moreover, yes, so that's what it's saying here. The glories of Sringara Rasa are unsurpassed. There is Sandra Ananda, highly condensed bliss in this Ras, but there is no dry pleasure, Sukshananda. no happiness derived from inert matter, Jadananda, and not even limited happiness, Sankuchitananda. It is the embodiment of complete Ananda, and in order to achieve the completion of Ras in this Purnananda, in many instances the unlimited varieties of bhav are afflicted with mutually opposite bhavs. In some circumstances, these opposing bhavs are affectionate, and in other circumstances, they consist of emotions such as enmity. So this was his question, was about the enmity. How can logicians view the apparent enmity or enviousness in the spiritual world? If someone is looking at the pastimes that we've been describing in Braj Leela, where the gopis become very envious of one another. There's Chandravali's Vipaksh, there's Radharani's Swapaksh, and they have rivalry, competition. It would appear to be mundane, but what is being explained is that none of this is mundane. It's all to enhance the beauty and sweetness of the Leela, to increase the excitement of the activities, the Leela between them. They are simply varieties of fascinating transformations of Paramananda. Yes. They surge up like waves which excite the ocean of Ras. Sri Rupa Goswami's conclusion is that bhav is possessed of wonderful variegatedness. The various bhavs that are completely compatible with each other are in relation to Swapaksh. So in Swapaksh, Radharani's party, the bhavs are all compatible for Radharani. Now the bhavs in the Surit Paksh, the next one, they are mostly compatible. They are slightly incompatible in relation to the Surit Paksh. When the incompatible bhavs predominate and there are very few compatible bhavs, those bhavs are called tatashta. And when all the bhavs are completely incompatible, those groups of bhavs are in relation to vipaksh. So they seem incompatible to Radharani's group. Another point is that when these bhavs are incompatible, they are not mutually pleasing. Both parties are not pleased. Only the vipaksh are pleased. The swapaksh are not pleased. That is why they give rise to enmity and similar sentiments in this Paramananda Ras. These are very deep subject matters, and I'm reading them very quickly because we read them yesterday. And I hope that you're keeping up with it and you can follow through. But we need to read again for ourselves. So Vijay is saying, what is the necessity for Paksha and Vipaksh bhavs? Why should there be two camps? Goswami, when the bhavs of two nayakas are equal, the bhav of rivalry occurs. So when they're both equal. And consequently, the moods of friendship and hostility perform their activities as transformations of ras. So friendship and hostility, they create transformations of rasa. We can't understand these topics from a material point of view. We have to put our consciousnesses into that spiritual realm just for a moment and realize a place without envy, without enmity. And if it's all for the pleasure of Radha and Krishna, then there's no deep-seated enmity at all. It's all blissful. You should understand that this is also only to enrich the supreme sweetness of the Akhand Shringara Ras. Vijay, are the two Shaktis, Srimati Radha and Chandravali, equal from the point of view of Tattva? Goswami, no. Only Srimati Radhika, who is composed entirely of Mahabhav, is the essence of Hladini. Chandravali is her Kaya Vyuha, bodily expansion, and is unlimitedly less qualified than Srimati Radhika. We explained all this yesterday. Nevertheless, in Shringara Ras, Chandravali has a mood of equality with Radha, so that a rivalry emerges to nourish the Prem Ras. Again, consider this. The bhav of these two Yatesharis cannot be completely compatible. If somehow or other it seems to be so, that is simply a coincidence. And then he gives an example of coincidence, just like the shape eaten by a bookworm out of the pages of a book might accidentally resemble a letter of the alphabet. Actually, the Svapaksh and Vipaksh bhavs of ras occur naturally. So to understand Srimati Radhika, we need to understand all the different gopis and the different rasas and the different individual moods of them, their connections with each other. So this whole chapter is about describing the different natures of the gopis. So we're getting a much bigger picture of who are these gopis, not just a big group and they're all the same. They're all so incredibly different. Vijay, Prabhu, you have dispelled whatever small doubts I had. Now, Vijay is going to capsulate basically what he's understood in the next 2 paragraphs. So this is like going over what we've already been through. Prabhu, you have dispelled whatever small doubts I had. Your sweet instructions have entered my heart through the path of my ears, and they are destroying all my bitterness. I have fully understood Alambam, the object of the abode of Ras, in regard to the Vibhav of Madhurya Ras. Satchidananda Krishna is the one and only Nayak, and I am meditating upon his qualities, form and activities. He has the temperament of Nirodhata, Dhira Lalit, Dhira Shanta and Dhira Datta, and he eternally performs his Leela as a Nayak in the roles of Pati and Upapati, so as husband and as Parakiya. As a lover, he is Anukul, faithful, Dakshin, sincere, Shata, cheating, and Drista, reckless and bold. He is always served by friends who arrange his meetings, Chetaka, dress him, Vita, and make jokes, Vidushaka, and by his masseurs, Pitamardaka, and his most intimate friends, Priyanam Sakas. He is fond of playing on the Vamsi. Today, Krishna has appeared in my heart as the Vishaya of Ras. So he's just describing the different characteristics and nature of the Vishaya, because in Vibhav, there's 2. There's the Ashraya and the Vishaya. This was described before. At the same time, I have also understood how the beautiful young women of Braj are the Ashraya of Madhurya Ras. These gopis are Nayakas. Nayakas are divided into 2 types, Swakiya and Parakiya. In Braj, the Parakiya Nayakas are the Ashraya of Shringara Ras. And they are the 3 types. They are of 3 types, Sadhanapara, Devi, and Nityapriya. The attractive damsels of Braj divide into groups in which they serve Krishna, and millions of lovely Brajagopis are subordinate to one of the many Yuteshwaris. Among all the Yuteshwaris, Sri Radha and Sri Chandravali are prominent. In Sri Radha's Yut, there are 5 kinds of Saki, namely the Saki, Nitya Saki, Pran Saki, Priya Saki, and Parama Shrestha Saki. Although the Parama Shrestha Sakis, who are also known as Astasakis, are qualified to be Yuteshwaris, they do not create separate Yuts because they desire to remain the followers of Sri Radha. The Sakis under their guidance are collectively called their Gan, for instance Lalita Gan, Vishaka Gan, and so on. So I'm reading a little bit quickly because I want to get to this bhajan before we conclude here. So I'll just read through, I'm just going to read through straight here. Nayikas are divided into 3 types, Mugdha, Madhya, and Pragalbha. So we've discussed these. And of these, the Madhya and Pragalbha are each divided into 3 further categories, Dhira, Adhira, and Dhira Dhira. These 6 categories plus Mugdha make 7 categories in all, which are divided into 2 types, Swakiya and Parakiya, to make 14 types in all. The category of unmarried Nayika Kanya is added to these 14 to make a total of 15 categories of Nayika. These 15 types of Nayika have the 8 avashta, conditions or situations, beginning with Abhisarika and so on. And all these categories are divided again into Uttam, Madhyam, and Kanishta to make a sum total of 360, which is 15 times 8 times 3 types of Nayika. The distinct types of behavior, vyavahara, of the Uteshwaris, such as the Surit, as well as their purposes, tatparya, have awakened within my heart. Vijay is speaking here. I have also understood the duties of the Sakis and the messengers, the duties. Now I have learned all of these topics. I have an understanding of the Ashraya Tattva of Ras, and by combining this with the details of Vishaya Tattva of Ras, Vishaya Tattva of Ras, I have also understood the Alamban Tattva, which is included within the subject of Vibhav. And tomorrow I will learn about Udipan. Krishna has shown me unlimited kindness by giving me the association of a Sadguru like yourself. I am taking my nourishment by drinking the liquid nectar flowing from your lotus mouth. Sri Gopal Guru Goswami embraced Vijay and said, "My dear son, I have also become successful by attaining a disciple like you. As you make more inquiries, Sri Nityananda Prabhu is personally replying to those questions through my mouth." Tears of praying began to cascade from his eyes of both Guru and Shishya. When the Mahatmas, such as Dayana Chandra, witnessed Vijay's immense fortune, they became immersed in Paramananda. Just then, some Shuddha Vaishnavas arrived outside Radhakant Mat and began to sing some shlokas composed by Chandidas. So I read that quite quickly because we read it yesterday, and I went over it briefly. And I commented yesterday that my feelings on this chapter were just to read it again and again, because every sentence is packed with an understanding deeper. And if we start to think about these things, it'll be amazing where the heart will actually be transported to and transformed. So we'll sing this bhajan that they were listening to. Sai sake kabai sonoila shyama nama. Sai sake naila shyama nama. Sai sake kabai sonaila shyama nama. Sai sake kabai sonaila shyama nama. Kanera vitara dia marama pashila go. Marame pashila go. Akula karila mora prana. Karila mora prana. Najani kanake madhu shyama nama ache go. Najani ketaka shyama nama ache go. Padana chadita nahi para. Padana chadita nahi para. Sake kavo sunaile shyama name. Sake kavo sunaile. Oh my dear Saki, who is that person who first made me hear the name Shyam? When it enters my heart through my ears, I become overwhelmed with impatience. I don't know how much sweetness fills this name. It is so sweet that my tongue will not leave it for a moment. Sai sake kabe se noile shyama nama. Sai sake kabo so noile shyama nama. Japite japite nam avashakari lago. saitare. Nama paritape jara achana karilago. Paritape jara achana karilago. Angare parase kibunhaya. Angara parase sai sake kevo sonaile shamanama. Sai sake ile shamanama. I don't know how much sweetness fills this name. It is so sweet, my tongue will not leave it for a moment. As I go on repeating this name, I become completely absorbed. O Saki, how will I ever be able to meet him? Sai sake kabo e sonile shamanama. Sai sake. Yekane vasati tara, sekane takiyago. Yekane vasita tara, sekane takiyago. Yuvati dharma kaijaya. Yuvati dharma kaijaya. Parashrita karimon pasharana joyego. Pasharita karimon pasharana joyego. Kikari bekihabe upaya. Sai sake kebo sunaile shamanama. Sai sake kebo sunile shamanama. Kai dvija chandi dasa kulavati kula nashae. Kahe dvija chandi dasa kulavati kula nashe. Kahe dvija chandi dasa kulavati kula nashe. Apanara yovane jachaya. Apanara yovana jachaya. Apanara yovana jachaya. Sai sake kebo sunaile shamanama. 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 That person's name alone has the power to put me in such a condition. I cannot even imagine what my condition would be if I were to touch his body. Wherever he stays, how can the young women maintain their religious principles? In my heart, I want to forget him, but I cannot. Now I cannot understand what is the remedy, what to do. Dvija Chandidas says that Shyamananda has destroyed the dynasty of chaste ladies by showing his youthful beauty. They continue to chant this kirtan with mridanga and kartals for an hour and a half, and all became immersed in prema. When their absorption subsided somewhat, Vijay Kumar offered his respects to the Vaishnavas according to their eligibility. He then offered his sastan pranam to Sri Guru Goswami and set off for his residence at Harishchandi Sahi. Thus ends the 34th chapter of Jaiva Dharma, entitled Madhurya Ras Vichar, different categories of sakis. So, I'm sorry for the kirtan. It should have been sung much more beautifully than that. But anyway, try to put something together. But this is an incredible chapter. And as I said yesterday, the same thing, that we should feel inspired just to read again and again. But tomorrow we'll go forward with chapter 35, this Madhurya Ras Vichar Udipan. So we'll discuss this tomorrow. Shri Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Gaura Haribo. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Gaura Haribo. Go Premanandi, Hari Haribo. Panchakapaturubhyascha, Vipasindavivacha, Patitanam Pavnivyo Vaishnavim Namaha. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai.